done. I want to introduce you to Kevin Floyd. Kevin Floyd is the Deputy Chief Procurement Officer for the City of Atlanta, and he has the responsibility of the Center of Excellence team. And on my left is Dana Greer. She's the Deputy Chief Procurement Officer for City of Atlanta, overseeing the commodity or the category management model. With that, first of all, I want to take this opportunity to thank the council members, the administration, the mayor, Andre Dickens, as well as Chief Operating Officer Lisa Gordon for all the support they have extended to this team during their transformation process. As you know, the last 9 months has been all about transformation. We have transformed the organization from a tactical organization to a strategic organization where we focused on people, process, and product. So what we did was, when I took over this job 10 months back, and I can't believe it's 10 months now, 10 months, I charted a course for this transformation, and it's based on 3 tranches. The first tranche was to address the process that was broken, the process that needs to be fixed. So it's the first 3 months. The second 3 months was all about people, making sure we have the right talent to deliver the right product that the City of Atlanta requires us to deliver. And the third piece is the product piece, which is the technology piece. And we'll share some of those transformation in the presentations. One thing that has made things easier for us is 100% adoption of Oracle within Department of Procurement, which means that we can pull numbers at any point of time on a real-time basis. We have also strived, or we have made sure that we break down the barriers for suppliers to do business. We have made sure that we run a very transparent, open, fair, and competitive procurement process. We also want to make sure that we promote small and minority-owned businesses within the City of Atlanta and across the supply base. And last but not least, we want to make sure that we hold all our employees to the highest possible ethical standards. The end result is we want to be the best in class. We want to be the best in the best, best of the best in the industry, and we want to set a legacy for other procurement organizations to follow. With that, moving on to the first slide. The first slide, sorry. The first slide talks about a mission statement and a vision statement. And I keep reminding everyone on our team and the team that we work with is excellence in value creation through partnership, collaboration, and innovation. We partner to collaborate, we partner to innovate, and we collaborate to deliver an innovative product in the marketplace. And our mission statement is, of course, like I mentioned, is to have a fair, transparent, competitive procurement process that benefits the community and the City of Atlanta. The next slide talks about our organizational structure. As part of the transformation process, I briefly spoke about the people part of the process. On the people part of the process, we actually implemented a category management model. So when we looked at the entire spend and the activities, sourcing activities that we have, we were quickly able to identify 6 broader categories. and we implemented a category-based category management model so that we can streamline the work we do. We are able to do that work in an effective and productive way. So the organization structure that you see is we have 2 deputy CPOs managing the category side of the business, and we have a deputy CPO running the Center of Excellence team. The Center of Excellence team is based on people, process, product, or technology. That is the driving engine, or that drives the engine for the category management model. Moving on to the next slide, I want to briefly talk about some of the highlights we have on the changes. And again, these changes are based on people, process, product. On the people side, we have implemented a category management model. We have aligned everyone's capabilities, competencies, and capacity with the work they are best suited to do so that we can get the highest productivity from those employees and from the team. We've also made sure that we have created a structure where there is personal and professional development for every employee. So we have created a structure where employees can get promoted from a category lead to a category manager, from a category manager to a category director, and finally to a deputy CPO role. This career progression has helped the team members when it comes to delivering against expectations that the City of Atlanta wants us to deliver. So that is the people piece, that is the highlight for all the changes out here. On the next part, we talk about the process piece. And in the process piece, as you know, we implemented 100% Oracle. So everyone's using Oracle. Every sourcing activity is within Oracle on a real-time basis. On a process perspective, on a process front, we have also launched atlsupplies.com. That was one of the first things that we did, was we created a platform, a HubSpot for the suppliers to do business with us. Our goal was to break down all the barriers for suppliers to do business, make it easier for them to do business, and provide them with all the information they need to do business in one central place. So we launched atlsupplies.com. Additionally, we launched our supply newsletter to keep our suppliers informed about all the changes we are going through, the transformation, all the upcoming bids, all the closed bids, and we also launched our social media platform, whereby we are using that extensively to connect, build, and foster relationships with our supply base. Moving on to the product piece and the technology piece, we have automated the process extensively. So in other words, every day at 2:15, when a bid closes, the bid closes at 2 o'clock. Every day at 2:15, automatically the bid is posted on social media, on LinkedIn, about the closure of the bid and the suppliers that bid on that project. Every day at 4:15, we also post the bid tabulation sheet for all the RFPs that have closed. And that has helped us to be very transparent in who is bidding on what projects, the amount that which supplier has bid on what project for how much. And it also helps us to make sure that we are not relying on a human element to do the basic stuff that we need. Talking about the transformation on the product piece and technology piece, Our goal next year is to digitize procurement process completely. So we are moving, next year, we are moving towards digital procurement. We are going to achieve operational excellence through digital procurement by envisioning, by experiencing, and by evolving into the next generation procurement method. Which in other words also means that we are also helping the sustainability cause and the initiative that we have. We are now reducing the number of printing that we have to do because everything is online. We have cut down on paper trails and paper requirements, and we are digitizing everything. So for the benefit of the community and for the world, we are reducing the footprint by playing our own part in digitizing the entire procurement process. Moving on to the next one, this is the total operating budget, and I would hand it over to Kevin Floyd to talk about some of the numbers that we see out here, and we can talk about the opportunities and how we came up with these numbers and how we want to optimize on these numbers so that it's not disproportionate.
Good afternoon. So the FY24 proposed budget, as you can see in the graph, reflects a slight decrease over the FY23 adopted. So we have $3.27 million allocated in the general fund, $908,000 allocated in watershed, $1.12 million allocated in aviation, and roughly $70,000 allocated in the fleet fund. Now, many of you may be aware, and I think this has been talked about in some previous budget hearings, that there are going to be some enterprise adjustments for the procurement budget forthcoming that aren't reflected in these numbers that will be handled through the budget amendment process. But these are the, as of now, the FY24 numbers. As far as the head count, we currently have 38 employees onboarded in the strategic sourcing wing of the organization. We have 25 employees onboarded in the Center of Excellence, and we have 18 vacancies. Can you click it to the next slide? Digging into the personnel piece a little bit more, there is a $498,000 decrease in the personnel budget, and as I mentioned, there are some enterprise adjustments forthcoming, so that will help offset that reduction from the general fund. But we are going into FY24 with 63 filled positions and, as I stated, 18 vacancies. And I do want to thank the HR department. Back in September of last year, we were down to 43 employees, and over the last several months, we've onboarded 25 folks, so I've become very intimately acquainted with the HR process, but we're very thankful for their partnership on that, and we've been able to recruit some fantastic talent. And we have some offers in the pipeline currently, and I'm excited to share that we're going to have 3 summer interns in support of the Year of the Youth joining us, so we're really happy to be able to do that as well. The operating budget is flat, so it's not increasing over last year, nor is it decreasing. And there are some factors that contribute to that, some timing, calibrating of the budget. We're looking to optimize all of the money that we receive. And some of the key highlights that we're looking to do with our operating budget for 2024 is bringing back the in-person supplier expo that we used to do every year. So in March of 2024, we're going to have another large in-person supplier event. We're going to actually develop a citywide small business development program, so really excited about being able to offer that to our small businesses, and we're doing some renovations within the department. And then lastly, the organization is broken down into 3 operational areas: the Office of the Chief Procurement Officer, the Strategic Sourcing Wing, and then the Center of Excellence. You can see our budget is very, very heavy personnel, not too much on the operating side. So 4.5 of the overall 4.8 million proposed budget is allocated in personnel, with 200,000 allocated in purchasing and contracted services, and 100,000 allocated in supplies.
Thank you, Kevin. Moving on to the next slide, it talks about our 2024, fiscal year 24 priorities. Clearly, our priority is to achieve operational excellence, digitize procurement, by envisioning, experiencing, and evolving. We also, like Kevin mentioned, we are going to put some measures in place to make sure we tighten up some of the loose ends of the process, make sure it's pressure tested, and importantly, we want to make sure that we focus on training as we do continuous improvement and monitor results. With that, I am actually going to hand it over to Dana Greer, Deputy CPO, to talk about her experience with the transformation, how she went through the transformation, and how her team is adapting to the transformation.
Hi, good afternoon. I guess I can speak for myself as well as for our team members in talking about how the transformation has gone for us. So about a year ago, we received these very lofty goals that we were going to be moving into a category-based model, and it seemed very lofty, I'll have to admit. At this point that we've seen some of the achievements despite the transition of staffing, not having a fully staffed team, with things that are still in flux as far as some projects that are being managed under the old structure, as well as moving towards the new category model. We're very proud of ourselves and our achievements, and again, to speak on behalf of the team members, they've seen their personal and professional growth, and we're starting to envision what we can really produce when we start to use the data, when we start to consolidate the spend, and really see what kind of efficiencies we can bring about. Some of the things we're looking forward to going into the next year are some enterprise contracts. We've seen opportunities that are going to make things more convenient for the user agencies. We're seeing how we can implement some best-in-class practices to improve our knowledge base, to do better market research so that we can produce better specifications and achieve better outcomes on behalf of the city. And this whole development and evolution is going to continue. We're working in an agile method where we're finding opportunities, we're making those changes quickly, and we're reviewing the results and continuing to assess and make changes along the way. So I don't think that the goals are going to become stagnated. We're continuing to look forward, and we're happy to be a part of this really exciting team.
That's why for the next year, there is when I talk about 3 E's, envision, experience, the third one is evolve. We'll have to evolve. We cannot remain where we are. But I also want to talk about how we achieved some of the results, even with, as you know, when we went down to 43, that is the lowest. You know, out of 80, we were operating almost half the work. So what we did was we actually used the slide, calibrate, optimize model. So we looked at opportunities. Where is the major concentration of work? You know, what is the 80-20 of this department? So 20% of the team was actually doing 80% of the work. That's how we shifted people. We took out all the extra supporting staff. We moved them into the delivery piece of the model, and we were able to handle that. Just to share some numbers, last month we closed with 130 days cycle time. The month before that was 115 days. The month before that was 122 days. So we are, we have made it to that 90 to 120 days cycle time. Am I happy? Kind of. But I want to be the best of the best. I want to get down to the 90s. In fact, I was talking to my team yesterday. I said, green is 90 days, yellow is 90 to 120 days, red is 120 plus. So having said that, I think the team out here is fantastic, right behind me. I want to thank all the men and women in Department of Procurement that has gone through the transformation, has endured the transformation, and they have changed the culture within the organization, and they continue to change the culture around them. So thank you, Department of Procurement team, for making this happen and changing the way we do business at the City of Atlanta. Before I close, I want to mention three more statistics. We have completed almost 276 sourcing events as of last month, with a total contractual value of $19 billion. We have processed almost 16,000 PO with a contractual value of almost $1.5 billion. So if you just look at the number of activities that we are doing, we are processing 6 POs every hour.
Wow.
And we have a team of just 6 processing those 6 POs, which means one person is processing PO every hour they're working. When I break down all the numbers, the number of hours we have, work hours, and the time it takes to do RFP, we are operating at 81% productivity factor. That is the best in class. Even world-class organizations, they work in a productivity, the productivity factor is between 62 and 68. We are at 81%, and we were able to do that by sliding, calibrating, and optimizing people by doing so. Is it sustainable long-term? The answer is no. That's why we are hiring to make sure that we come to a stable state. With that, we end our presentation. We'll be more than happy to answer questions. I'll be more than happy to provide other information that you request. And with this, we have completed in 34 minutes.
You did. It was less than 30 minutes. You rose to the challenge, as usual. All right, I'm going to open it up for questions from my colleagues. I've got a slew of myself, but I'll go ahead and let other folks go first. Shook?
And those of us who have been on the Finance Committee are already familiar with the remarkable progress that you've made. But I'm curious, I know another goal of yours was to drive down the DocuSign sort of purgatory area. And I see here that you're trying to get to a 3-day SLA. How's that working?
We are actually making some tweaks to it. The 3-day SLA time actually cuts down almost 20 days of floating around into the cycle time. We are making tweaks because we have uncovered some challenges, and we are working with DocuSign to make sure that we fix that. My goal to Kevin Floyd and his team was to get it done next week. So next week it'll be sealed and delivered.
That's right.
Was the main problem that dragged out that process one of the technology or just people not signing the damn thing?
Let me be honest. I think it was people sitting on, employees were sitting on it, they forgot about it, that was not their priority, and sometimes you had to nudge to get those done. So from a technology side, we did implement the technology. Now we are implementing the control measures so that we cannot go backward.
Well, we're acquainted with the great internal progress you've made, with your people and your processes. Are you seeing that translating into more bidding interest?
So one of the numbers that I wanted to share, and I forgot to mention, last year we had 111 canceled bids. Today we are only at 27, and most of the 27 canceled bids are because the user agency canceled those bids. We have very few no bid situation, which means that we have lowered the entry barriers to doing business with the City of Atlanta. When I say lowered, we did not compromise on the requirements, but we made it easier for suppliers to do business with us by providing them with more information, by connecting with them, by building relationship with them and fostering the relationship so that they can grow with us.
Well, that's your goal, and that's what you're working on. Are you seeing that? I mean, we've had times here before your arrival where, big, very important projects that were on deadlines received very tepid interest for a number of reasons, and we all suffered for that. So what are the main burdens or obstacles left for you to overcome to really have people lining up at our door to have us be the preferred address for their bids?
Yeah, one of the things, well, I keep on saying one of the things, but when I joined the organization, I created a sense of urgency. What has been a challenge, and we are working through those, is making sure that everyone around us also has a sense of urgency. So when we finish the project, we are waiting on the next steps. So sometimes we have to push people to make that decision. So from a challenge perspective, we have changed a culture within us, but we're changing the culture around them by creating a sense of urgency, trying to get things done. The main driving factor behind this is because I'm holding my team responsible to the 90 to 120 day time frame. If I don't complete my project in 120 days because someone else is not making a decision, we take the hit. So it is on us to push everyone to make the decision as quickly as possible and close out the project. And we are driving that forward. That's why we have this DocuSign 3-day signature, because we want to push them towards that. And it's a good practice, because if you don't see anything in 3 days, nothing is critical then. So.
Appreciate you and appreciate all y'all for this remarkable progress. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And Councilmember Overstreet.
Thank you, Commissioner, and your whole team. I wasn't going to say much because I'm so pleased with the way this year has gone, and I can't express enough what a difference it makes. You know how many committee meetings that you actually come to, because a procurement is just far-reaching throughout the city, not just in one aspect, and people don't really know that a whole lot of what we do in the city depends on our procurement office running properly, and you have really changed that dynamic in a big way. I had zero confidence last year, this time, that we would be where we are today, so I'm very thankful for the work that you all are doing. I want you to keep the work up and continue to let us know what you need from us as a council in order to make sure that we stay on this track.
Thank you so much. They mean a lot for
Thank
me
you.
and the team.
All righty.
All right. If no one else, I'm going to jump into some of mine. I do want to echo the accolades. I mean, and I look at everyone out there, and it's been remarkable. I mean, I don't know of another word. The progress that you and your team have made, and it takes a village, but to change that much progress and culture in such a short period of time is, I can't think of another word but remarkable. And I appreciate, it just feels like you've just gotten back to the basics very basic concepts that everyone understands and everyone takes pride in and everybody just adheres to, and then you get the results from that. And I think that's just a great story that you've been able to tell. We're going to talk a couple of philosophical things and then move down specifically into budget. The metrics, you focus a lot on time and the number of days, and I think that's a good one. I think volume of transactions and speed is good. And I think, now that you've mastered that, it's time to kind of start nuancing that a little bit as well. Councilmember Shook started getting into it. I wonder, as we look ahead, some of the non-published metrics that show, hey, we're doing a really good job. I wrote down a couple, like number of contractors, so that in theory, if we're spreading work amongst across a number of bidders and we're attracting more folks, that is a sign of progress, because that means more people want to do business with the city. We're getting more opportunities into the market, but we're also getting potentially more competitive pricing in deals and best in class in terms of service. I also wrote down savings, and I don't know if there's any way that y'all can quantify that. Again, you don't want to sacrifice procurement integrity or speed or volume for price, but that's always a driver, right? And so I don't know if y'all have kind of some internal metrics that y'all use as well in supplement or in addition to the volume and speed discussion.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm glad you asked that question, and we'll refer back to DocuSign. DocuSign contract is up for renewal. They came back with a huge, huge cost increase. I think they were asking for $850,000 or something. We negotiated that contract down. We had 2 rounds of negotiation, 3 hours of each here at the city. We negotiated that contract down to $450,000. That is the kind of work that we are doing now. Going forward, you'll be seeing us in approaching the suppliers for best and final offer. We are going to go back to the suppliers for critical projects, for projects that have high dollar amount, for projects that are exceeding our funding. We will go back to the supplier to ask them to submit their best and final offer. So that is the kind of value that we are adding back into the process to deliver the savings, whether it's soft savings or hard savings, to the city and to the community.
Good. I'm glad to hear that, because I do think, again, that as we continue to look at the success, that you're going to start seeing that a lot. The other question I had has to do with iPro, and we've talked about this in committee a little bit, but the findings, how that drives, again, improvement. I mean, there's situations where we have one bid, I'm sure y'all are looking at the metrics around that. They go, okay, we're seeing some trends in this category, this user department, that we're only getting one bid. And so what are ways that we can continue to improve to make sure that we get multiple bidders, again, to increase the number of bidders and then hopefully enhance value. So I trust y'all are doing that as well, right?
And let me add to that. When I spoke about the negotiation piece of the back end. In some of the critical projects that we are handling, which has high dollar amount, high impact, we are also doing an industry day. We are bringing in suppliers, giving them information about the bid, understanding, getting their feedback, so that when we go to the market with an RFP, we have a good RFP. Suppliers understand what they're bidding on. Suppliers had a chance to soak that in, and they know exactly what the challenges are. It's also an opportunity for us to improve on our mistakes that we had made before, which had prevented suppliers from bidding. I just came back from an event we had at E&Y office about, minority, small Latino, and small business suppliers. Everyone mentioned that we don't understand the bid. That's why, since we're not sure, we just take a step back and not bid. Now, that is a powerful statement coming from a small business, minority business. So we want to make sure that we don't get into that situation. Create an RFP package that everyone understands. To that effect, we have reduced the number of pages that's needed for the RFP document. We have reduced the number of documents that needs to be attached with the RFP, and we have simplified the process. Next year, when we digitize, everything will be online. There will be no person asking for paper copies or email copies.
The one metric I wouldn't write down, but I know that we all up here use, is the number of challenges to procurements that we hear about. And I know for me personally, that number has dropped dramatically over the last 10 months. So I think that is another sign of success. The final thing I'll say before I get into some of the specific numbers, I hope in FY24, you and I have talked about this, and I know that it's already on your radar, but let's just underscore it one more time, is looking at existing contracts that we amend to death. And we amend so much that they become so unlike what they started off with. So I hope that that continues to be a focus of y'all's going forward.
That is absolutely right. We are actually working on it with Department of Law. We want to bake in volume discounts so that as the spend goes up, we start adding dollar amounts. We also benefit from the discounts we get from the supplier. And that also mitigates the risk or changes the behavior of just adding money into contracts.
All right, so going into specific budget questions. So I'm seeing there's a reduction in FTEs that's being anticipated, yet the dollar amount reduction of your payroll is going way, way, way down. It seems disproportionate. So can someone walk me through that proportion? Unless that person, that one position is making a lot of money.
Yeah, it's certainly not a one-to-one.
Yeah, okay. So what else is that? Because we're seeing the exact opposite in other departments because of the COLA that's baked in, as well as other just adjustments. But.
And that's why I mentioned the enterprise adjustment, so it will actually go back up when the final numbers come out.
Okay, and then it's also somewhat counterintuitive to me that the enterprise, maybe the enterprise adjustments will fix it as well, but I did not expect the airport to go down that much, given I know the level of activity that's coming up, and then same with watershed. So that will correct itself.
Absolutely. So we looked at the volume of work and negotiated that with them for what is needed to facilitate.
Right. We had that meeting up front and we had consensus on that.
Okay.
Piece.
And then kind of the zero change in most of your other expense line items, that looks a little suspect too. I mean, just the same dollar amount from year to year. Is there, just because you're not anticipating any significant operational changes, is that the only reason?
I think it's offsetting. So in the past, a lot of the expense has been, we're printing out all of this stuff, we're buying a lot of paper, there's a lot of maintenance on copies. We're not having to do that anymore because of being digital. So we're able to take the same money and do more with it in innovative new ways. So.
And it's a timing issue too, because, we are offsetting some of the open positions that we have. So this cost of operation is low. Right. It also, we have taken out, majority of the support staff and invested those staff back into the delivery piece of procurement.
Okay. I mean, those are just minor questions in the grander scheme of things. I think what you're hearing from us is just and again, this goes to all of y'all that are out there, just a very proud council and city for all the hard work that y'all have done, and what this means in terms of how well the city is going to be able to continue to improve our operations is remarkable. I keep going back to the word, but did you have Council President Chipman?
Thank you. I want to echo the great progress that's been made and the appreciation. Two just quick questions. One is, coming into this role, a lot of folks said that they were both frustrated with procurement and also frustrated with accounts payable, right? As a business, they would get a contract, perform a service, and then they would wait 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, et cetera. Do we have any sense of how that is going? I know that is not your purview, but I do worry back to some of the questions that have been asked. If you're doing a great job attracting lots of folks, they're winning contracts. We don't want them to be one and done. We want them to have a good experience. We want them to get paid on time when it's appropriate, et cetera. So could you just touch on that a little bit and how you're coordinating with that side of the house?
Yeah, so we do have a vested interest in that part of the process because when we finalize a contract, the supplier wants to get paid, the user agency issues a requisition, our team processes the PO, validates, checks the funding stream and creates those PO. I'm proud to say that we have reduced the PO cycle time from 11 days to 14 hours. That is less than 1 day. So from our side, we have tightened that up. Now, on the accounts payable side, I know that HR has put a leadership institute in place to make sure that we clear out all the outstanding POs. I think once we clear out all the outstanding POs, we can reset the baseline, and with less than 1 day of PO cycle time, we can start paying our suppliers back on time in a very effective way.
Good, thank you, and I appreciate your attention on that issue. Second question, there are some industry areas that are particularly tough at any time, either because of economic cycle or because of supply and demand. One of them that we know that's been particularly tough lately is anything related to transportation and infrastructure. There's an enormous amount of federal money coming down for infrastructure. There's a lot happening in Georgia generally because we're a growth state, and so that generally is high demand. Can you talk, I know because you've started to specialize in the way that you've organized, one, can you talk just a little bit about how you're able to address that kind of situation? And then two, specifically, do you feel like that this budget gives you the additional resources that may be required to be proactive in a situation like that?
So there are two things. When we spoke to suppliers, when we looked at industry, when I spoke to my peers in other areas, whether it's UGA, whether it's other states and municipalities, the issues they face are similar to what we have. But I think we have a much better way to address it up front because now we are engaging with the suppliers up front. We are gathering their feedback. We're connecting with them up front so that we can create a package that's much more lucrative for the suppliers to bid on. It is, some of the suppliers came and said that you don't give us enough time for us to finish the work. We cannot get work done in so many days. That's a good feedback because these suppliers, because of the supply demand in this market, they have multiple projects they can bid on and they can pick and choose. They don't want to overstress their employees by putting them in one job. So they're in a much better situation to pick and choose. So what they have requested is if you spread out the schedule, we can move crews from one place to another place and take care of your business. But if we are not able to do that, that's when we end up being in a no-bid situation. So we are factoring all these feedbacks that we're getting from the suppliers to make sure that we improve on our processes.
Good, that's very helpful. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all from me.
Anybody else have any other questions? All right, seeing none, with that, again, a big thank you to you and your team for the amazing work over the last year. I think we've got our budget questions answered, and we look forward to continuing to work with you going forward.
And one last thing, Mr. Shipman, I forgot to answer about the resources question. When I walked into this role, there were a lot of things that was not going right, including the process piece. I always am a firm believer that throwing bodies to fix a process is not the right answer. I'd rather fix the process and then throw bodies to optimize the process is the method that I used. That's why when you look at our numbers, the reason why we held flat is because we want to optimize and come to a stable state, test our pressure test, what's working and what's not working, and maybe perhaps next year's budget, I may ask you for an increase.
All right, if there's nothing else, then I appreciate the presentation. And we will recess until 3 p.m. When transportation comes up. I would say, if transportation, if y'all are all here and have handouts, and if y'all are ready to go, we can actually potentially start early as well. But let's go ahead and transition down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.